I'm just gonna come out and say it. Buying property in North Carolina can suck. Okay, that was blunt and slightly hyperbolic, but if you're looking at buying property here, there are a few quirks you should definitely understand beforehand. Now, I don't say that to scare you away, but rather to set expectations before you set out to buy a home here, and to give you some tips to avoid pulling your hair out before closing. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty, if you're new here, my name is Matt Martin, and I'm a Raleigh-based realtor. I've helped tons of clients just like you relocate to the Triangle region of North Carolina, and if you're looking to do the same, I'd love to help you too. Oh, and a quick but necessary disclaimer. I am not a lawyer, so nothing I say in this video should be taken as legal counsel or advice. Okay, with that out of the way, let's move on to what makes buying property in North Carolina so different from the rest of the country. And we'll start with something simple, the offer process. Here, listing agents are legally required to follow certain rules about disclosing, or better yet, not disclosing information about other offers. If there are other offers on a property, the listing agent only has to reveal that information if they've received permission to do so from the seller and the buyer's agent has asked. But even if the listing agent does disclose the existence of other offers, it is illegal for them to share any information about the offers they've received without the offeror's permission. That is, the buyer's permission, which is almost never granted. So try as your agent might to get information from a listing agent about what type of offer you need to put forth to get that house. A listing agent usually can't legally share anything. That makes crafting a winning offer quite a bit harder than in other states, where listing agents will usually be able to make more general statements like, we have multiple offers over ask. You won't find any of that happening here. Okay, now that we've dipped our toe in with an easy one, I'm gonna throw us into the deep end and talk about the Mac Daddy of what makes North Carolina so unique. Enter the due diligence fee. Now, this is such a big topic that I made a whole separate video on it, which you can find right here. But today is the Cliff's Notes version. In most parts of the country, including here in North Carolina, the buyer will put down a deposit once their offer is accepted, often called an earnest money deposit, to show the seller that they're serious about buying the home. But that money is typically refundable for a certain period of time up front to allow the buyer to do things like home inspections. If the buyer backs out during this time period, which is sometimes called the due diligence period or inspection period, the earnest money is returned to them. And that all works exactly the same in North Carolina. But, and this is a big but, we have another fee that is not refundable during this period. Unique to North Carolina and maybe one or two other states is something called the due diligence fee, which is a non-refundable fee that is paid to the seller once your offer is accepted to essentially give you access to your due diligence period. That means that you can still walk away during the due diligence period for any or no reason, and you'll still receive your earnest money back, but the seller will keep your due diligence fee to compensate them for the time they took the property off the market. While this fee is technically optional, due diligence has become a major component of offers in North Carolina due to the fact that it's paid directly to the seller. Earnest money is held in an escrow account until closing and is non-refundable from the minute the contract is countersigned by the seller. The due diligence fee has become a way for buyers to say to sellers, I won't walk away from this deal, and here's a chunk of money up front to ensure that. Now, there isn't an average due diligence amount, and they can vary considerably based on the market we're in. I've seen them as low as $1,000 and as high as $200,000. The amount you offer for due diligence is also dependent on a variety of other factors. For example, if the home has been sitting for a while and has no other offers on it, there's no reason to offer a large due diligence fee up front. I always encourage my buyers in this situation to start small and let the seller counter back with a higher amount if they'd like. The same holds true if there's anything about the condition of the home that you're suspect of after your initial walkthrough. For example, did you notice some standing water in the crawl space, or did the floor slope? These are all things you'd want to get clear answers on before moving forward with the house, so you want to make sure your due diligence fee isn't so large that it would break the bank to walk away from the deal should an inspection reveal larger problems. On the other hand, if you're looking to put in an offer on a hot property, one thing I will make sure I do with my buyers is a mini inspection during our showing. Disclaimer number 2, I'm not an inspector, so I'm not qualified to give official inspection feedback. But what I mean here is that I'll go into the crawl space to check for standing water, foundation cracks, etc. I'll go into the attic to see if there's any water stains on the roof or mold on the trusses. We'll test toilets, faucets, look under sinks, examine as much of the roof as possible, and open all the windows. If we know we're going to be in a multiple offer situation that will require a higher due diligence fee to stay competitive, it's imperative that my clients feel they've thoroughly assessed the property's condition and feel comfortable with the larger non-refundable deposit. It's important to highlight that both the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit are credited back to you at closing and count towards your purchase price. They are not in excess of your purchase price. Also, you don't pay either of them until your offer is accepted and you go under contract. And while you should never expect to get your due diligence fee back if you cancel a contract, you may be able to if you can prove that the seller fraudulently withheld a material fact. I've had 2 cases in my career where this happened, and luckily my buyers received full refunds of their due diligence fees. Phew, we got that big one out of the way. But it was important to explain that because it now feeds into the next 2. North Carolina is a caveat emptor, or buyer beware state. This means that homes are generally sold as is, and the seller is not required to make any repairs or modifications unless they're mutually agreed upon and signed off on by both parties. This is especially important to understand now that we've discussed due diligence, as a buyer does not have a right to get that amount back just because the seller won't repair or address inspection items. This goes back to working with an agent who does that top to bottom walkthrough of a home with you before you buy. While that of course doesn't guarantee there won't be any surprises come inspection time, it can definitely reveal hidden defects that can then be addressed before the buyer goes under contract and hands over their due diligence fee. Now, sellers here are required to fill out a disclosure form about the property that must be provided to all buyers. On that form, sellers can mark yes, no, or no representation on each question. And while no representation may sound like the seller just isn't sure, it actually can mean that the seller just doesn't want to disclose it, even if it's a material fact. Say what? Yep. As a caveat emptor state, the seller is not legally required to disclose information, but the listing agent is. So if there's a leaky roof, for example, the listing agent must disclose that even if the seller has marked no or no representation on the disclosure form. All right, another biggie that ties into due diligence is that North Carolina doesn't have standard contingencies as part of our contract. The idea here is that the due diligence period and due diligence fee should take into consideration any possible contingency that you would otherwise have. For example, some states have a contingency that allows the buyer to walk away and get their money back if they cannot sell their existing home. That doesn't exist here. Instead, it's recommended that buyers set a long enough due diligence period to cover the sale of their home and put down a due diligence fee that they're comfortable walking away from during that due diligence period should their home not sell. Or another big contingency in other states is a financing contingency, which allows a buyer to walk away if they can't secure a mortgage. Again, it's recommended here that you set a long enough due diligence period to cover getting your appraisal and conditional loan approval back and putting down a due diligence fee that you're comfortable walking away from during this due diligence period should you not be able to secure that financing. Some attorneys will draft contingencies for these situations, but they will typically involve the loss of your due diligence fee and possibly your earnest money deposit. That's why it's so important to get pre-approved before you start your home hunt so you feel comfortable that you will be approved for the amount you're looking to buy for. It's also imperative to work with a buyer's agent who can provide you with strong comps to support your purchase price. So there are hopefully no big surprises with the appraisal. I know those may seem scary, but I've got some good news for you. In North Carolina, the seller cannot force the buyer to buy the home. The only recourse the seller has to a buyer walking away from a deal is to keep their due diligence fee and earnest money deposit. So the buyer is free to walk away from a deal at any point. However, a buyer can force a seller to sell a home. So even if a seller breaches the contract, that is not grounds for termination. The buyer can still obligate the seller to go through with the sale. Again, the point of this video was not to scare you away from buying property in North Carolina. Hundreds of people do it every single day with no issues. But because our process is different than in so many other states, it's important to understand the quirks before diving in so you can better set expectations. If you have any questions about the buying process in North Carolina, or you're ready to kick off your house hunt here in the Triangle region, I'd love to be your guide. You can reach me by phone, email, or text, and all my contact information is included in the link below. And if you like this video, be sure to check out my library of videos all about what it's like to move to Raleigh, North Carolina, live here, and buy here. Hey, check that out. There's one right now that YouTube thinks you'll like, so go ahead and give it a click to keep watching.